If you look at problem 221, it's about signal to noise, which we usually refer to as SNR. This problem asks which part should be adjusted to improve this aspect. For this, you just need to remember the keywords as pairs. The answer is that you can improve the SNR by using frame averaging, which is option B. That's how you can summarize it. People often make the mistake of pairing the grayscale map with these two, but for this part, just remember it's simply up to contrast resolution. The mention of SNR means that there is a different keyword from frame averaging in option B, so you should distinguish them through the question. Next, let's move on and look at question 220. In this question, you can immediately find the relevant keyword within the question itself. It is asking about a function that can control the largest and smallest signals. Usually, in the case of a compressor, when directly asking about the function of a receiver, related keywords are connected in this way. Here, since the question is not about the function of the receiver, but rather about the system that can control the widest and narrowest signals, the correct answer is dynamic range, which is option D. So make sure to clearly understand what the question is asking, and then select the correct answer accordingly. Let's take a look at question number 223 right below. This question asks you to select the sentence that defines the term duty factor. First, let's watch a related video about the duty factor. In Korean, you can think of it as the concept of a shock coefficient. To explain it simply, it's a coefficient that represents only the proportion during which the actual sound wave is emitted. If you look at the diagram below, you'll see that after a sound wave is emitted, there's a resting interval. You can think of it as a coefficient that evaluates how much of the actual sound wave is emitted, excluding those resting periods. If you look at the formula, it can be the value obtained by dividing the pulse duration by the pulse repetition period. Or you can simply remember that multiplying the pulse duration by the PRF gives you the duty factor. Yes, what's important is the concept next to it. By looking at the percentage of the duty factor here, you can check how much of the pulse is being emitted. The higher this value gets, when it reaches 100%, it means that pulses are being emitted continuously without any resting interval in between. So, just remember that as the value increases, the pulses are being emitted continuously. If we look for the correct answer related to this, we can choose option A. Yes, you can think of it as a term that refers to the state when the transmitted sound is actually active. The term that describes the actual transmission of sound waves is the duty factor, also known as the pulse factor. Next, let's move on and look at question number 224. Questions related to the adjustment of PRF are almost always included in the exam. When the PRF is increased and all other parameters remain unchanged, you can consider that only the PRF here has increased. This question is asking what kind of result will occur in this situation. The correct answer would be to choose option B. When the PRF increases, more pulses are generated, and as a result, the frame rate that can reproduce the image also increases accordingly. Therefore, since all questions related to frame rate or PRF are important, I strongly recommend that you solve all of them. Next, let's move on and look at question number 225. This question is also related to PRF. This question asks what kind of result will occur if you increase the PRF excessively. If we look for the correct answer right away, we can choose option C. In everyday terms, we usually call this range ambiguity. PRF itself is the concept of a pulse being sent out and returning, but if you send out pulses too continuously or excessively, range ambiguity can occur where you can't accurately determine which pulse has returned and thus can't know the exact distance. To summarize, if you excessively increase the PRF, range ambiguity can occur because you can't accurately determine at what distance something was located. You can review this part through the related problem. Next, let's move on and look at question number 226. I've explained this problem in a previous lecture. We're about to perform an abdominal ultrasound, and they want to increase the patient exposure here. The concept of increasing exposure is related to increasing output power, which is associated with power. It's important to note that things like TDC and gain control here are not related to increasing exposure. Since it amplifies the signal after it has already been sent and received, it is not related to the concept of exposure. I want to emphasize this point again through this question. Now let's move on and look at question 227. In this question, they're asking about the function related to reject among the receiver's features. It is asking what effect occurs when you increase the reject function. Since the reject function itself serves to eliminate noise from weak signals, the correct answer is option B. Similarly, you can use this question to summarize what results the reject function produces. Let's look at question number 228 below. We've already solved this type of question before, so let's check the answer right away. This question is asking about the function that adjusts attenuation according to depth. The correct answer is TGC, which is option D. Now let's look at question number 229. In this question, you are asked to choose the option that best explains signal-to-noise SN or SNR, which I explained earlier. First, I'll explain SNR while watching a related video. If you look at the video, yes, among the values measured in amplitude, a certain signal can be detected. And along with this signal, the surrounding noise can also be measured. You can think of SNR as representing these two together. The greater the difference between these two ratios, the higher the signal you can obtain from the image. To produce better images, it is necessary for the signal to be measured at a high level and the noise to be measured at a low level. On the other hand, if you look at the picture next to it, the signal and noise levels are measured at similar levels, and likewise both low signal and low noise are being measured together. In such cases, because there is a lot of noise interference in the signal itself, it can be said that the impact on the image is greater. This can be a cause of producing lower quality images. So the signal and noise are both signals obtained together according to the amplitude present here when the image is generated, and depending on the difference between the two, the impact on the image can also vary. If you just keep this point in mind, that will be sufficient. Therefore, if you were to choose the option that best expresses this sentence, you would select option C. When we consider various factors that are related to amplitude, the metric used to compare the signal and the noise is known as the signal-to-noise ratio, which we call SNR. To summarize the related keywords once again, through this sentence you can see that it refers to the ratio related to the noise formed together with the signal generated by the amplitude. Yes, you just need to check the overall concept. Next, let's move on and look at question number 230. Looking at the question, among the functions of the receiver, convert means to change or transform. It is asking which function changes the negative portion to the positive side. Let me explain the content here with a diagram. If you look at the video, you can see that the upper part is positive and the lower part is negative. After going through a certain process, the parts here either move to the opposite side or disappear. If you look at the lower part, you can see that the negative signal that was on the opposite side has moved up to the top. This action is called rectification in Korean. As explained in the sentence, you can think of it as a function of the receiver that converts negative to positive. The correct answer is to choose option C.